Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Don't forget, if you like the video, click on like and subscribe and talk about it on chat lines or wherever it is your social media activities, and help us to grow and help more people. I'll talk to you soon. So Natasha says, I feel like I can't even come to my own head to listen to my own thoughts. But those are not your thoughts. Remember, there is a difference between your thoughts and the brain's thoughts. If you do not understand the separation between brain thoughts and you'll go crazy. You actually will go crazy. You'll go nuts. And I'm serious about it. That is why it is imperative for every human being to understand how the makeup of the psyche, how it's put together. And for that, you need to watch the videos that I have, which I used it in the playlist called Intrusive, Transient, OCD, HOCD, Negative Thoughts. That's a different playlist than the one I just mentioned. On this, while I focus on HOCD and all that, but in order to help you understand the roots and the origins of all these, I explained in video number 11 how thoughts come to be, the relationship between thoughts and consciousness. And in the video number 8 in that playlist, some of these videos are like 50 of them, but some of them have actual numbers, 1, 2, 3, so on. Those are the ones I want you to watch, and more important than the other ones. So I want you to watch number 1, of course. I want you to watch number 7, which talks about the power of mind, how powerful this beast up here is. That's why you get bamboozled and you believe that what it conjures up, it actually real, because it's so powerful. That's why it's so important that if you understand it and train it and understand what it is, how it is functioning and malfunctioning, then you'll be safe and you will go far with it. You will use it like you have a horse that you've trained it and you command it and communicate with it, and it'll take you where you want to go, and it'll jump over all fences and makes you to go to your destination as safe as you can. But if you don't train it, don't understand your power of your brain and how it functions and malfunctions, its limitations and its capabilities, then that's like, riding a horse that it's got its own mind and it's powerful. It's going to take you to gutters and places that you never wanted to step there because you're not in control. And that's when the brain actually makes you go nuts and crazy. This is why it's very important for you to understand how does brain, thoughts, and you are separated, independent systems. So, number 1, number 7, and then I want you to watch number 11, talks about thoughts and consciousness. Then I want you to watch number 8. That's why intrusive thoughts happen there, and one of the reasons. And of course, I've got many other discussions there, but those are basically geared for HOCD, other than the ones that I talked to you about. They're all, relevant to HOCD. But then I have this other playlist, which is the Intrusive OCD, HOCD short videos. They are not data hunting or discussing interpretations of intrusive thoughts. They're discussing origins and how brain and thoughts and consciousness work and don't work, and how the brain malfunctions and all that, so forth. That's a whole topic of its own. I want you to guys watch those, especially you, Natalia. And Natalia was saying, I feel like I can't even come to my own head to listen to my own thoughts, which we said many of the things are not your thoughts. There are things that you command the brain and use the apparatus of the brain to do for you, and those are your thoughts. Like you want to design something, you want to calculate something, you want to figure out something, you want to learn something, you want to write something, you want to produce something, you want to accomplish something. These are your thinking, your thoughts. But then brain itself makes its own thoughts, as we talked about, 80, 90,000 thoughts a day. They're not your thoughts. Independent, totally. Irrelevant to you, meaningless to you, and you've got nothing to do with it, with this production. You didn't introduce it, you didn't encourage it, you didn't want it to be there. They're just there because the brain, as I said, wants to do its own thing. Part of it is to protect you, part of it is to be occupied, to find security. So all gets mixed up and comes up kind of a mishmash soup that you have to now deal with it, thinking, all these things that create in my head is about me. No, none of them. That's why if you understand the separation between brain, thoughts, and you, then you just begin to realize what freedom of mind and freedom of thought is, and you get your freedom back. You may have never had it. You always thought you're the brain. Brain is not you. And underneath in the description part of all these videos, I have introduced scholars and scientists such as Dr. Schwartz discussing the experiment that Dr. Grable with her MIT postgraduate student Carl Smith has done on rats in regards to neuroscience of habits, and you will learn how the brain functions and conditions, and then the relationship between the goal finding center, reward center, and habit center, which are all on the same circle, called the striatum. And in there, the actual star of the show, caudate nucleus, when it malfunctions, and then it causes all these intrusive thoughts, which every single human being on earth has it. But when the caudate nucleus malfunctions, the intrusive thoughts, instead of just showing up for a couple of seconds and then you say, "Ooh, shit, that's a bad thought," and then disappear because caudate nucleus automatically shuts them off, knowing what your system is all about, knowing what your gender and interest and inclination is, knowing about what is relevant to you, it shuts off the intrusive thoughts that are irrelevant to you. But when it's not functioning, then its automatic system is off and these intrusive thoughts show up and you recognize them, but they don't go away. It's not like you're minority and you're the only one who has intrusive thoughts. Every single human being on earth has intrusive thoughts. How many times a day? God knows. But when their system functions automatically, it shows up, they say, "Ooh, this shitty thought," and then it disappears because you go about focusing on the things that you want to focus. But when you have an OCD or some malfunction happens that the caudate nucleus doesn't do its automatic job, then you got to retrain your brain by the way you dis and ignore these thoughts, and by your behavior towards reaction toward these thoughts, which are just, I don't give a shit, I'm not interested, I notice, yeah, thank you, but I'm not interested. You focus on your life. Then it rewires your brain through neuroplasticity, and you begin to get this automatic conditioning that caudate nucleus used to do back, and then eventually resets caudate nucleus to do its job. It happens to almost everybody, at least a big percentage. So the ones who say, "No, I don't have any intrusive thoughts," they're full of shit, either lying or they just haven't focused on it enough. And 94.6% of people, if not more, have intrusive thoughts. And I guess the other 5-6% either lying or they just are too dumb to notice. And remember, if you have such intrusive thoughts and OCD and all that, you're usually above average intelligence, and that's why you focus on these, and you're so perfectionist and focused on it and meticulous about it, and data hunted and want to find out what it is and all that. But if you were a little bit dumber, you would simply say, "I don't give a shit," just focus on your life and just enjoy your life and not be so bogged down with it. That's the whole problem. In other words, about 40,000 years ago, we were still living as animals. We had a stem brain and everything was instinctive. We still couldn't speak or have thinking possibility or capacity or capability. Therefore, we would hunt, sleep, eat, have sex, and everything was clear. No ambiguity. Everything was clear, hardwired. Your sexual orientation, your sexual inclination, your interest in sleeping or running around hunting or exercising, who you are, what you are, and it was all hardwired. But when thinking capabilities and speaking and creating of thoughts patterns and ability to think was added to our existence, which we existed in that way for 1,000,000 years before we were given the ability to think, when that showed up, then the problems showed up. In other words, thoughts are the roots of all problems. It's not that there's something wrong with you have intrusive thoughts. You never had it. It's not something wrong with you that you think you have HOCD. You never had it. Why? Because HOCD shows up when you have the capability of thinking. When you didn't have capability of thinking, there was no questions, nothing to be assured of, no need to think and doubt anything. These are all thought-based. And when we couldn't think, we had no problems. Everybody was clear on their gender. Everybody was clear on their interests and what's meaningful or what's meaningless to them, what's irrelevant to them, and nobody had any problem as far as these sort of things that we are dealing with it because of these magnetic fields, because of all these extraordinary, irrelevant information that is all on the air, on TV, people's personal preferences, people, personal sexual inclinations, people, personal lifestyles are all on view of everybody and discussed all the time, which is irrelevant to most others. Whatever is not irrelevant to this person is irrelevant to that person, and so on. And all these extra informations are seeping through the consciousness, and guess where does brain picks up material to make thoughts? From the consciousness. So all these irrelevant information that is seeped in here, it picks it up. It doesn't know what it is. It doesn't care what it is. It doesn't care what your gender is. It just wants to make thoughts. So if that kind of information about sexuality and things that are irrelevant to you, it's been added up here about, I don't know, pedophilia, seeped into the consciousness, brain makes thoughts of it. And then you have to deal with it and figure out, oh, that describes me. That means I'm going to be a pedophile. Or that means I'm, you're heterosexual. And then thoughts of homosexuality shows up and say, oh, am I in denial? Am I going to be gay? Have I not been this, what I've always been? And all these things shows up because brain picks up information from the consciousness. And in the consciousness, there's so much irrelevant information that is floating out in the air and the open, which all these things used to be private for people. And everybody lived however their lifestyle was, in peace and quiet in their own home, and whatever they did with their body and their interest was their own business. And yet now it's become the world business, and as the result, every brain in the world is being subjected to the information that is irrelevant to them, yet the brain doesn't understand what's irrelevant, what's not. It says, hey, I want to make thoughts, so I'm going to make a thought out of this information, out of that information, and doesn't care about what's relevant to you, what's not relevant to you. And then you start being bamboozled and not knowing how powerful the brain is. You start thinking that what the brain has conjured up as form of thought is actually relevant to you, and you start data hunting it, disapproving it, fighting with it, and all this, which is the intrusive thoughts, and constantly wow, 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 wow. That's the sound of the Italian Western movies in the old time. I don't think I did a good imitation of it, but anyhow, you get the gist of it. So, where were we? And Natasha says, because I don't know what's real and what's intrusive, and the most frustrating feeling. Where in Canada are you, Natasha? That's funny. It's the first time I have like 3 Canadians on this line. I usually don't get. I get maybe 1 or 2 max. Like, this channel is known more in Europe than it is in Canada, while I am in the West Coast myself. So what else do we have here? Beyond the Wash says, hi Mehran, male 29, Ireland. Hello there.